podcast. You missed your opportunity.
I put the goat up by mistake. You know the goat. I'm talking about the Rhythm Heaven goat. I put that up there by accident.
Greatest of all time.
Hey! Welcome to the podcast, episode 87. Pew! Guess where that beam is going? It's blasting through your brain.
With the weapon imagery here. We want to
That's
follow
true.
Apple's example and no guns. Don't use that imagery. It's dangerous.
It is a dark time we live in. For many reasons.
It's a great time. It's a great time to be alive. We've had like 4 terrorist attacks and hardly anyone's even been hurt. So,
well, all jokes aside, I think
terrorist
it is.
Jokes.
I think that in this scary world we live in, maybe you shouldn't be having pictures of guns all around. And you know what? I think Apple's really going to make a difference here in the fight on terror.
They've done their part,
Like,
and now,
well, the
now
U.S.
they can sit back and
SEAL Team 6 has done their part with the whole Osama situation, that rigmarole there, and now Apple's going to finish the job with the emoji.
Yeah.
Welcome to
I wonder
Push
if
to
there's a
Shove.
picture somewhere in Apple's boardroom of like them all like staring at the screen as they implement the iOS 10 mission and remove that emoji.
The
You don't
president's
know what we're talking
on
about.
the line.
The Apple gun emoji has been bravely, courageously replaced with a water gun.
In a landmark decision.
It was a huge
Extracted right out of the code.
Tim Cook is going to be fighting for election next in 4 years against Hillary Clinton.
Tim Cook
I'm voting for
paratrooped right into the Matrix there, and he pulled that emoji directly out of iOS. Okay, so the world's a better place. This is a podcast about video games. Did you play a video game?
I play lots of video games.
Like
Ones
what?
I haven't even
like
played
what,
before.
Skippy?
Where do I start? So Ubisoft released The Crew for free. It's a free game now. And it used to be a $60 game, and now it's free. And that's the game where it's like, oh, you can go anywhere in the U.S. They've modeled the country on like a Euro Truck Simulator level of detail. Not a lot of major cities. I think they've got like Dallas, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, Washington, D.C., and New York, and Miami. And those are the cities. But they also include, like, I went to my home, the South, thinking, like, let's see how they did the South in The Crew. And they didn't do this. They did the swamps of Louisiana. Oh, yeah, New Orleans is one of the cities, I guess. They did the swamps of Louisiana, and then it goes straight to Florida, and that's about it. Like, it's Florida and Louisiana is about what you get. There is Nashville, but I think it's like 6 blocks. Did you ever play Grand Theft Auto San Andreas?
I've seen enough of it. Yeah, I know what it's like.
There's these little towns in the country and in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, and they're tiny. And that's what Nashville is in The Crew. It's like 6 square blocks.
Oh, God.
It's really bizarre.
Just like the classic American South.
Why even make a Nashville if you're going to make it look like that? It's a weird game. And also there's palm trees in Tennessee, I guess. I think that's the Florida section of the game, technically, where Nashville is. It's weird. That whole game's really weird. I don't like it. It's not a very good game. The driving isn't very much fun to me. It's like arcadey, but not in a fun way, I guess. I don't know. I'm struggling to think of something positive to say about this game. The technology might be
cool?
impressive. No, it tries to be. This is the most annoying thing about the game. It loves its cutscenes of the car. If you go to a garage or whatever, it does a little cutscene of the car peeling into the garage, and then the camera spins around and looks at how cool your car is from a low angle.
Oh.
And then you drive out of the garage and you spin the wheels and out of the garage, and the camera's like, whoa, look at that, that's so fucking cool. And you're not driving, it's a cutscene. That's really annoying because you're going through these things a lot. and they do a lot of
That's one of those baffling decisions where it's not clear how it was made.
I know, I understand how it was made. This is the kind of game that I didn't think that this would be this kind of game, but they licensed a lot of cars. It's for people who love their cars and want to look at them and say, "Look at that! It's spinning its wheels. How badass is this Dodge Charger?"
Is that market really that big, though? Is my question.
I don't know. Apparently
is my
That's
question.
probably why they had to make make it free, because nobody was buying it. I don't know. Is
it a microtransaction thing now?
There are definitely microtransactions. I don't know. It might have always been that. But Ubisoft's doing some sort of promotion where they're like, we're giving away 10 games for free every month that's a new game or something like that. And they've all been just like old, weird, obscure games until this one, which was like a kind of a big deal because it's relatively recent. But you can see why they were okay with giving it away for free because I doubt anyone was buying it.
Yeah.
And I just don't. I understand the idea they were going for of like the idea of driving an arcadey race game literally across the United States, coast to coast, is awesome. That's a great idea, and I think it would be really cool. But it doesn't. The way that they've rendered America is really unappealing. About all I've seen so far, I've driven from like Chicago to New Orleans, I'd say, and it's all fields.
That seems like it would be almost
Maybe
like an
accurate, I guess, kind of.
Well, it seems like it would be like one of those uncanny valley effects where you know what kind of America is supposed to be like, and when you're driving through this slightly off, very abstract and loosely defined.
Yeah, I don't know if uncanny valley is the right word because uncanny valley implies that it's close enough that you get weirded out. This is not close. Grand Theft Auto 5 is close. It's like, okay, this is a very small Los Angeles. It looks like Los Angeles. If you've been there, this is what it looks like. It's instantly recognizable. It's very well done.
But not.
Going through Louisiana towards New Orleans, it's like I could glance at this and say, okay, yeah, they're going for Louisiana here because there's the big trees with stuff hanging down, and then you get to New Orleans and there's the big stadium, whatever you call it,
Superdome.
Yes, and it just doesn't. There's no art, I guess. And the landmarks that I have found have been really just disappointingly barren and not. There's no, I don't know. It feels. It only came out like a couple years ago, I think, and it feels way behind its time. Like graphically and the way that they've modeled the world, it just seems like they stretched themselves way too thin. Like they should have stuck with like a really well rendered city instead of the entire U.S. But
I guess part of the trouble there is that a city is kind of hard to drive in at high speeds.
You're right. I mean, it doesn't make it particularly good. It's much more fun to drive on a highway, but these highways aren't all that fun. I don't know.
It seems like something that could be good.
Yeah, it could be, and I think that they just executed wrongly. I would like to go out west, and I'd say the majority of the game map is like the Midwest and West, like the desert and Midwest area, which seems like the most boring area, except for like the Grand Canyon kind of stuff. But like, I don't know. It seems very boring, and when it should be kind of awesome. I want to see if they render like mountain ranges. I want to see if like you actually like can see, okay, I'm approaching the coast because I'm approaching the Rockies.
What? That might be the kind of gameplay loop. This is a real Blender job, so you'll have to hear me out here. But that seems like the kind of gameplay loop, driving around really fast, racing, doing these challenges, that would actually work with No Man's Sky, like planet generation, like and topography generator. Do you know what I mean? Like, so the problem in No Man's Sky is, what do? You don't do anything. You just mine and you craft, and it's boring, and there's nothing to sustain it. But if instead of just going through this slog on all of these cool planets, you actually like were racing through these weird different terrain types, and that could actually work.
I do think you're right in that if you're going to make a procedural world or a very large world, you need a fun way to traverse that world. I've talked about when Just Cause 3 came out, how the wingsuit mechanic in that game is the best.
Oh yeah, perfect
movement traversal in any game ever. Period. It is the best. It is so much fun. It's so much fun. It's perfect. The speed is perfect, and they've built a very large world. It could be bigger, even in Just Cause standards, but that's a perfect mechanic to put in your big ass empty open world game because it's fun to fly around. No Man's Sky restricts you to 100 feet off the ground, and you have to press a button to land, and that's insane to me because one of the main things that I would say appealed to me in that game was like the idea of swooping down onto the surface of a planet and seeing what there is to see, and then saying like, oh fuck this, I'm going somewhere else, or finding something interesting and landing. And they didn't even bother with that. And yeah, so I agree. Like the idea, there was a game. Oh god, what was it called? The short one letter, like a 4-letter, 1-word title.
4-letter, 1-word.
Yeah, it was a.
What?
It was a very,
Grav.
very. That's 3-letter. What? Rav?
Grav.
Oh,
Grav.
No, it was like. For some reason, I keep wanting to say.
It was a dumb
Fuse,
look. It looked exactly like No Man's Sky. It was that colorful, procedurally generated shit.
No. What I'm talking about, I have no idea what you're talking about.
This is so much of a coincidence then.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because that is a piece of garbage game.
The game I'm talking about is, I wouldn't call, well, I'd kind of call it garbage. It did what it said. It did what it said on the tin, but it was very, very large open world, like the size of a real, I would say, like, I think they kept saying like the size of Wyoming or something, like actually the size of Wyoming.
Wyoming, what a place.
Mostly empty, and yeah, that's a fitting comparison to make. Actually, Wyoming's way more interesting because at least they have mountains, and this had a mountain.
Cool.
But it was an open world off-road racing game, and it was multiplayer, and you could just drive around in this big ass world, and it was well done. It wasn't a bad game. I had some fun with it with some friends where we just kind of got together on dirt bikes or whatever and just drove around, and that was kind of cool. They probably needed more things to actually do. Like, you could stop and have a race, but what's the point in stopping and having a circular race if you're in this big open world? Like, do a cool point A to point B and like find your own way through or something. That'd be more interesting. That's what you end up doing anyway, is like set a waypoint and say who can get there first, and that's your gameplay, which fine, that works.
That's good gameplay.
Yeah, make your own gameplay, fine. But anyway, point is, the concept can work, and I think the crew just doesn't. It just felt really empty. Not just the world being empty. I mean, like sometimes you can feel the passion behind a game, like the fact that someone wanted to make this and make it good, and this has none of that. I just don't. There's nothing there. And so yeah, whatever. It's free. Go ahead and download it and see how it is for yourself because it's free. Who cares? I did buy a car game, Absolute Drift. I think it's $12 on Steam. It is a top-down drifting game. They kind of have like a...
You know what? I know what you mean, and I must have played a bunch of different Mario Party minigames like it.
You have played some Mario Party-esque minigames like it, but this is like if those were good.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, like no, it was very popular in like the 90s, I think. There was a type of racing game that was top down, and it was like RC cars and that kind of thing, and you'd drive around. It's that kind of thing. But with a focus on drifting, and like the longer you can hold your drift, the more points you get, and then you have to like, there's poles or whatever, and if you drift close to them, you get more points, and if you drift fast, you get more points as you go close by them. And so there's little things they put around for you to earn points, and it's very hard. I'd almost call it sim-like in how they make you drift. It's not cool. Like a Need for Speed where you just instantly drift and you can get out of it really easily. Like, you're going to be spinning out all the time when you start out. And the really satisfying thing about the game is that you learn and you learn and you learn and you learn, and the challenges get harder and harder and harder and more satisfying. And by the end of the game, I think I spent like 5 or 6 hours on it and 100%ed it in that amount of time. But by the end of the game, I was fucking pro. I could just pull off any drift I wanted. I could just drift in a big circle forever. Which trying that at the beginning was, I couldn't even understand how someone could do that. And so you learn quickly, and it's so satisfying and so simple too. And I cannot recommend it enough. It's one of those, I hate to say Dark Souls like, but it's kind of like you learn, one of the appealing things about Dark Souls is you learn the gameplay and you get better at it. You're not just improving your weapons or whatever. You're actually like learning how the game works. It's that kind of satisfaction, and I loved that game. I don't think there's any replay value really. Well, I guess there is. They have leaderboards. It'll tell you like you do a challenge and it'll tell you, oh, you're in the top 3% or whatever. And there's one that I'm in the top 1%, and that felt really good.
How many people play the game?
A lot. It would tell you like how many people would like what rank you were in the challenge. And I know when I was in the top, I want to say when I was in the top 10%, that was like 150 or so people. So it's not a super popular game, but it's just a little indie. I wouldn't have even known about it if someone didn't mention it on like Twitter or something, where I was like, oh, I need to play that, and then I forgot about it, and then I think it's popped up on Steam, and I was like, shit, I should download that. Very, very good. I love it. It's awesome, and it has a fantastic, like, like Hitman Go and Lara Croft Go. You know that?
Yeah.
Those games. That style of like minimalist toy kind of look.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay.
It's that look. White void with, I would say it's more minimalist than that, where you're drifting through Tokyo and there's like the port and the factories and the airport and the town and the city, and you're drifting through those different little areas, and they're very like minimalist rendering of that style. It's very cool. And when you complete the challenges, it plays the the Tokyo Drift theme song, on the bells, where it's I don't know if I can explain it well enough for you to, but you hear it and you'll instantly go, oh fuck, that's that Drift song.
Okay, all right.
but they do it in a way that it's like, it sounds natural as a video game, like ba-ding kind of sound, but it's definitely that. So yeah, it's good. And then I've been playing some shooting games too. I've been shooting some bad guys.
Really? Who have you been giving the old blam?
Well, there's Squad. Squad is a standalone game made by the mod team behind a very, very popular Battlefield 2 mod, Project Reality.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah,
Project I think I downloaded it and never played it because it like didn't work on my laptop or something.
Yeah, Project Reality is one of those complete overhaul mods that eventually, after a few years, gets probably more popular than the original game. Yeah. Like, I bet there were more people playing Project Reality at one point than Battlefield 2.
Maybe even currently as well.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure a mod community like that would survive.
Well, maybe not currently because they made the standalone, and the standalone's good.
Okay.
Yeah, Squad is good. It is. I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but it feels so much like Battlefield 2 that I'm very suspicious. It feels like that they actually like got the Battlefield 2 engine and said, let's just make our own game using these assets. It is extremely similar to Battlefield 2, but maybe they were so familiar with Battlefield 2 that they said, well, now we know how to make that. But it's Battlefield 2. But it's very realistic. It's a sim. It's almost like Arma, I would say. A little more playable than Arma, much more simple, and you can get right into the action. But it's squad based, hence the name, and you get like 9-person squads on, I would say, an average of like 30 to 40 versus 30 to 40 size servers, and you move with your squad, and your squad leader puts down spawn points for you, and then you try to attack the control points, Battlefield style. But get to Battlefield, because it's not like Battlefield in that it's very slow paced instead of very fast paced. Because even though you have your spawn points, it takes forever to respawn. You don't want to have to respawn it. The spawn points are usually a good distance away from the action, so you're trying to stay alive for the most part, and that completely changes. Like since the focus goes from trying to kill other people to trying to stay alive, the pace of the game is entirely different, and in my opinion, way better. Until shit really goes out of hand and you have a shitty squad leader or something. But it's also probably the best online community I've ever encountered. Especially after playing Overwatch for so long.
Yeah. There you're getting the bottom of the barrel.
But also, in general, in multiplayer games where I keep the voice chat open and people use it, which is like Overwatch, CSGO mainly, this doesn't even, it's not even comparable how much better this is. Like, people just have a good attitude because it's such a niche game. I guess it's kind of a tighter community, and people are, you don't play that game unless you have the similar mindset as your teammates of I know what this is.
You're not just stumbling into it with no idea what.
You don't get high and then go to your dorm room and pick up your sticks and start playing this.
For sticks. Bust out the sticks.
But it's very good. I like it. I like the pacing of it. I like the community. I'd recommend it to anyone who's kind of interested in it. It's a good entry point to slow-paced sim-like first-person shooters, which is a pretty tiny genre, but it's a good one of those. It's terribly optimized. I now have a GTX 1070, and it doesn't help at all with that game. It must be a CPU hog or something, because I'm getting on lowest settings, I never reach 60 frames per second. It's not well optimized. And then there's one map where I'm getting 23 frames per second. But fun. As opposed to that, after playing Squad and after learning that the DLCs had been, or maybe still are, this might be your last chance. If you're watching live, you might have a chance to get on these if you're interested. The DLCs for Battlefield 4, which there's 5 or 6 of them, are now all free, which is pretty surprising because they charge out the ass for those. But you can go on Origin, and it's kind of weird. The system isn't made to give away these free games, so it kind of acts like you're buying them, but you're not. And then the game itself is $20, and then there's a 50% discount that you can use. So I bought Battlefield 4. What? Oh, it's some kind of sale. I don't know. There's a discount code that I don't know what that's a part of, but I learned about it on a forum. And then, the DLC stuff doesn't seem like it was advertised anywhere, but it's all free right now. And I heard that it was a limited time offer, and I think today's the last day. But anyway, bought that and all the DLC for $10, which I think is kind of a steal for Battlefield 4, which is still a pretty recent game. Maybe it's because I'm coming straight off of Squad, which is such a different game, but so similarly based. Battlefield 4, I just wish it was something it wasn't. It's so fast-paced and so chaotic. You just run around and kill things until you die, and your lives usually last in less than a minute. And then you spawn and you run and you kill something and you die, and you spawn and you run and you kill something and die, and that's that whole game. And it's mindless to the point of being almost frustrating with just what the fuck am I doing? I want a version of that game. My main problem with Battlefield 4, I have 2 main problems with Battlefield 4. One, spotting. You can click on someone, press Q on someone, and a little red dot will appear above their head for everyone who can see them, a little red dot. And so they can just shoot at the red dot and kill them, even if there's a tree in the way or something. Second problem, sprinting. You sprint at the speed of Quake in that game.
Jesus Christ,
and
why?
It's absurd. It's ridiculous how fast everyone's sprinting around the fucking battlefield. It doesn't make any sense. It makes the game way too chaotic. It makes it so that people can flank you in a matter of seconds. Say you're shooting at someone over a hill, they can be around that hill in a matter of seconds. And it's that just ruins any sense of what's going on in the game at any time. There's no front line. There's no, oh, I saw a guy in that building, let's go over and kill him, because by the time you get there, he might be across the map just on foot. that doesn't make any sense, and it ruins the game. I want that game to be something it isn't, unfortunately. But I remember having fun with Bad Company too, and that's a very similar game. So I don't know exactly what the difference is, and I'm going to keep
Bad
trying
Company
some
2,
more Battlefield 4, but
it felt sillier, obviously, with the presentation of the campaign and everything, but it seemed more like a spin-off, like it could get away with being less tactical, and I don't know.
It almost felt more tactical. It almost felt like my memory of playing Bad Company 2 was like I could actually like think out a situation and try to pull off a flank.
That was a total guess. I have to qualify that by saying I've never played Battlefield 3 or 4, so I don't know what they're like at all. But I just remember, like, coming from Battlefield 2, I remember that Bad Company 2 was a lot more like run and gun.
Bad Company 2 is a lot of people's favorite, but like recent Battlefield game, like post Battlefield 3 Battlefield game. And it's probably mine too in terms of multiplayer. But it's a very similar game. I think the movement speed's pretty similar. Maybe they've sped it up a little bit for Battlefield 4, but I don't know, man. Maybe I just need to stop playing like the large scale conquest maps that are just like supposed to be completely chaotic. There's smaller scale stuff that they do, and there's like a rush game mode, which is similar to the Bad Company stuff. But I remember in Bad Company there was also a game mode called Hardcore, I think, where you could turn off the spotting, and there were a few other changes made that like I think probably slowed it down a little bit and made it less so that like in Battlefield 4, basically if someone sees you, you're dead because
that's Call of Duty.
Because you'll be spotted and everyone will just be a laser onto you. And it makes it pointless. And then you get in a helicopter and you're dead because everyone has a laser guided fucking rocket, and it's dumb. I really wish they were making a different kind of game. And of course Battlefield 1's the same way. So whatever. That's Battlefield now, I guess.
Woo!
And yeah, that's my video games. It's a lot of them.
Cool.
I guess.
Well, I went on a little journey into the pits of competitive Overwatch.
I played about 2 or 3 weeks behind me on this one, but
I played 10 placement games.
Yep.
I'm platinum. I'm a god. I never have to play again. There you go. So basically, it's the greatest game. I'm so good. Yeah.
Are you playing with people? Or are you trying to fill up a team?
Yeah, we play with like 4 or 5 people usually.
Yeah. That helps.
It definitely does.
I would still play that game with people, but I've kind of sworn it off alone.
You've sworn it off? Oh yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I totally understand that. Like, it was bad enough trying to deal with one person to try to manage them when you have the other 4 on your side.
And I don't like being that guy on the microphone, like trying to.
Come on, guys! Let's all
like that.
Work as a team. Come on. We need a healer.
I always stay silent, and then I speak up at the last, like at the final screen where they're giving the medals.
Because you just,
I'm like,
you hope.
I call someone out, and I'm like, "You're being a cunt. You were being a cunt the whole time."
Exactly.
You're trying to tell
you always hope.
I suck, but you suck.
You always hope that people will just take it on themselves to either correct what they're doing or to be somebody else, or even if it's just the loading screen, just we don't need a Reinhardt and a Bastion and a Torbjorn and a Symmetra all on the same offensive team.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. That game, it has a way of just... It's a time sink. And not necessarily a bad way. But, you know, it's very easy to just pop on and lose a couple hours to Overwatch.
It's a good game.
It is a good game. It is a very fun game.
I've thought a lot about it from a competitive standpoint. Because I never last long in games that are just completely, like...
Right.
Well, I don't know. It depends on the kind of game. But I try to get competitive with games to some... Like, I try to win. I like to win. And... Overwatch is complex to a fault, I think. This is what I've determined.
Okay, it is decided. All right.
It has been decided in my brain that it disguises itself as a very simple game. It's one that's very easy to get right into. You can understand the abilities extremely quickly. You can learn the characters very quickly and their roles. But because it's 6v6, that's the complexity, is working with the team, and it's too much. 6 players is too many.
Much?
Yes. 6 players is too many to handle.
Not when you're working together.
6 players is a lot.
I think
there's a lot going on.
I think your opinion on this is totally colored by you solo queuing.
You're right.
Like, it has to be. It has to be, because really, when you have 6 people who are not even using that crappy voice communication in game, if you're on a Mumble and you have voice activity mics on, then there is constant communication, unless people are really screwing up or you're getting destroyed. There's always, like, basic communication and understanding of what people should be doing, and it's great, and it doesn't feel like there's too many people. But when you got like 5 children, like toddlers, that you're trying to whip up into some kind of productive strategy, then that's an opposite experience.
But I think even when, I think I'll defend you on this point. I think it's a good defendable game with 6 people who you know, or even 5 or 4 people who you know, so that you can organize it and you can call out stuff, and you're going to win at a much higher rate, and you're going to have much more fun doing it. But when you're actually thinking competitively, if you're doing a 6v6 game and both teams are using their microphones, there's so much going on, and there's so much chaos. And by chaos, I don't mean like the Battlefield kind of chaos. I mean like the potential things that can happen, you know, at any moment. It's like, how many different people have their ults up, and what ults are gonna shut down other ones, and what kind of characters are gonna fight other characters. And that's a pro to the game, but also I think a detriment to the game, because it makes it so that it's unpredictable and chaotic to the point of being almost impossible to strategize, I guess.
A little like Mario Party in that way.
Exactly.
Really?
Like Mario Party. That's what I was getting to. Actually.
Slightly like Mario Party.
Yeah. But no.
That was a serious point where the game, it kind of feels like you have no. Obviously, it's an exaggeration, but in Mario Party, a lot of times it feels like you had no influence over the outcome of the larger game.
I mean, you're right. Yeah. There's a lot of the time where the game ends, and I'm like, I don't know what we could have done to prevent that win from happening, or that loss from happening. It's like, I don't know who fucked up. I'm sure people fucked up. I don't know where it happened, because it's so chaotic that I have no idea what my teammates are doing at any time.
And that must be amplified when they're strangers.
Yeah, amplified, but I don't think it's completely negated by being with people on chat.
That's true.
It's like,
That's true.
Like, how do you know that your fucking Reaper is just isn't doing bullshit and just not helping the team at all? You have no idea. And there's no. The nice thing about CS:GO is that when you die, you watch your teammates, and you know what your teammates are up to. You know how well.
You know
or badly
exactly
they're
what
doing.
to get pissed off about.
Yeah, but more importantly, you know where you need to improve. You know where your weaknesses are. You know what they're doing to beat you. Usually, I mean, sometimes a round ends and you're just like, oh fuck, I don't know what we could have done. But
yeah,
it's a simple enough game that you can understand that stuff. Overwatch
you know what?
is so fucking complicated that there's just no way to really get down to like, here's why we lost.
There was some like psychology thing I read at some point in like middle school. I don't know what it was, but something about how the brain works and counts things, and it said that we can at most about count in 5s reliably. Like, those are the chunks, about the largest chunks that we can kind of perfectly process.
Different information that we can figure out at the same time.
And maybe 5 is that magic number, because in
think it's a magic number.
In CS:GO, I kind of always have an idea of exactly where my team is and exactly which roles they're all currently filling. In Overwatch, even though you figure it should be more obvious, and it kind of is if you actually like are actively tuning into it, but even though the characters themselves are kind of more iconic than individual CS:GO guns, like there's the big monkey and the little annoying British girl, and wow, they're very different. You should be able to differentiate them on sight, as they have a silhouette, and Valve did that. But really, because there's so fucking many of them, it's one more thing you gotta do to keep it straight, which...
There's just a lot going on.
Yeah, there's lots to pay attention to and to manage and consider.
Yeah.
Which
and I think
guess
that's
is
what
sometimes good. Yeah.
I think it's always good in the first 15 hours that you play a game like that, where it's like you're still learning, and so the complexities feel attainable. Like they feel controllable, but that you're still behind the game, and that eventually you'll get to the point. I don't think you will for long. I think eventually you're going to get to the point like me where it was just like, oh fuck. Even if I'm playing with people I know, and I still want to play with more people I know, I'm gonna jump in some groups and stuff. But it feels like you start overthinking it to the point where it's like, well, if we wipe them right here at this point, we've got 3 people up. If we wipe them, their Mercy's coming back from the spawn. She'll be able to revive them maybe if her ultimate's ready, which I think it might be, but I'm not sure because I don't know like how much damage. So many things go into just charging an ultimate. But and then if she does that, then they're gonna have a numbers advantage on us. So should we hold off? Should we wait? And that makes it fun at first. But when you actually get to the point where you're trying to win and stuff, that's just frustrating because it's impossible to tackle. You can always go that extra layer.
I think it's manageable, and I think some people are better at it than others. I'm not saying I'm better at it than you or anything, but I just mean what I'm saying here is it's actually, I really don't mean it that way. What I'm saying is that some people really like that kind of thing. I don't think I necessarily even do. But some people, that's like their whole thing. They love to think. People who play Dota, they're probably into this kind of thing also. Like this
but Dota's 5v5.
Yeah.
And
that's
3
true.
very simple lanes.
That's true.
There's a simplicity to it.
But God help me if I ever try to learn those characters.
No, yeah.
But I think that somebody who's into MOBAs, more so than like, oh, they're zany characters and they have roles and you move them around a map. I think more than those superficial MOBA similarities, like one of the more substantial similarities would be,
it's a game about strategizing with your team to counter the other team's strategy. That's what Overwatch is about.
I think the live switching of roles is a little much also.
Yeah, that too. But you're right. That's probably something that doesn't specifically appeal to me. Like MOBAs have basically no appeal to me.
I feel it.
And so maybe that's part of my problem is that I'm just inherently biased against it because the game almost disguises itself as not being that kind of game. Like, right away what it is, but when you play it, you feel like, well, if I do well at this, I'm going to have fun. But then you get to the point where, no, if I, no matter how well I'm doing, if my team sucks, I'm not having fun. And so,
that's true.
So yeah, the more you get on top of the game, the more it slips out from under you because it's so complex and you're relying so much on team play. And there's 12 fucking people who all of their roles matter in your head. 11 other roles and you have to keep in mind, and that's a lot. It's a lot going on in my tiny little pea brain. And maybe it's too much for me. Maybe is Overwatch too smart for me?
Is Overwatch too smart? MatPat, that's your assignment this week. Okay. Put
it on the thumbnail.
Yes. I played some Melee. Nobody cares. I also watched Louis C.K.'s Live at the Comedy Store special on Netflix. I missed that one. I've seen all of his other specials, and I really like Louis C.K. He's a funny guy. I watched this one though, and it was really surprisingly bad. I don't know what it was about it. I think part of it is that he seemed to be doing like an ironic gay voice for like 20 minutes. It really got to me. Like, it really wore me down.
I couldn't. think I might have seen the same stand-up.
It's like he's on stage in front of a red curtain, and the audience is sort of like below him.
Yeah, like stand-up.
No, sorry. Like, not like a stage, but like a little platform kind of, what do they call it? Thrust?
Yeah, I think I've seen it.
Theater stage.
Because that triggered
almost like a burlesque show.
When you mentioned him talking in a gay voice for 20 minutes and it getting on your nerves, that struck me as something like, oh fuck, that's my opinion.
It was like it kind of looked like a restaurant. There were people at tables and
yeah. I'm trying to remember where specifically, but yeah, I seem to remember watching a stand up of his where it was like, there's just nothing funny about what you just said or the way you said it. It's just not a good joke, and that's not. I don't know. It was surprising because Louis C.K. has been so good in the past. I think he's fallen off a little bit, or maybe at least maybe his style of humor has kind of been taken on by society a little bit too much, where like it doesn't register as his anymore. But I haven't enjoyed, aside from his show, I haven't enjoyed anything
his show is
recent
great.
from him, and his show's not that recent, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. I think I watched that same comedy special, and I think I disliked it too. And I remember specifically the gay voice being just like, why are you doing that?
Yep. Yeah, not the best out of our boy there, Louis. So
hey, you mentioned last week, and you forgot to mention it in the podcast, and I think you meant to. Bill Burr.
Oh yeah. I've been listening to a lot of the Monday morning podcast.
Yeah, I actually listened to I listened to an old one today, just as something to do while working. It's good. I used to listen to it regularly, and then I got kind of busy and stopped, but it's good.
I listen to it on the commute every day.
Yeah.
And he does the Monday morning podcast, which is the meat and potatoes. Yeah. Then there's the Thursday afternoon before Monday morning podcast, where he does a Thursday afternoon thing, and that's half length. And then the second half of it is like the advice portion of a very old podcast. And so it skips the current events part at the beginning that is never relevant anymore. It skips all that and just gives you 30 fresh minutes along with 30 quality minutes that you've probably never heard before. It's a really nice addition, and it doesn't take him much more work, and the payoff is great. It was a very good idea to do that.
I think I noticed a couple of repeats, though, when I was listening, because I used to listen to the Thursday one, too, and I seem to remember going like, well, you've already done this one. I think they're running out of material because he's only been doing the podcast for so long. But yeah, it's a great setup. Yeah, and it's fun to hear the highlights, I guess, of his previous stuff. But anyway, yes. But anyway, you said something about him watching Formula One, and I've seen his Twitter has just popped up randomly with some Formula One stuff, and I'm like, that's something I didn't expect to see from him. I don't think I follow anyone who watches Formula One except for him, I guess. Formula One, I wish that was better. I won't talk about Formula One, but
you wish it was better. Okay.
Yeah, it's disappointing.
So add that to the list of people who need to get their shit together this week.
Yeah, when we're having a slow podcast, I can go into detail about
Formula One racing.
Yeah, when we're having a bad podcast, I can go into detail about Formula One and what disappoints me in it. But it's complicated.
I think we'll welcome that. I also, me and the lads, we were chilling, had a few brews, and toward the end of the night, when we were very brewed, we put on Courage the Cowardly Dog on Netflix.
It's a good show.
You know what? I was kind of surprised by how well it holds up. Like that's going to be one of those classic shows that, it'll last. People will be able to go back to that a generation later. And a lot
of our generation's growing up cartoons do hold up surprisingly well. Like I think Hey Arnold is one of them that people say like, okay, yeah, you can go watch it. SpongeBob obviously is something that people still watch. I loved Courage the Cowardly Dog. It's great. It's legitimately terrifying too.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how I didn't get nightmares from watching that show, because going back and seeing like clips from it and stuff, I'm like, holy fuck, this is some fucked up shit.
Yeah, and going back to it, the premise of every episode was just some stupid simple thing that like a dog would be afraid of, like, oh, he meets a squirrel, or his owners forget who he is, but then it just escalates into supernatural dimensions. It's a
great concept.
Yeah,
that's how to do a cartoon.
Concept for a cartoon show.
You have your very simple thing that you expand upon, like way outside of what anyone would expect.
Yeah. So that was cool. And that was about it for me.
I've watched some things too.
Oh yes. I
finally
watched Skip.
finally got around to watching season 4 of Arrested Development, the latest season, where they rebooted it on Netflix. I rewatched season 3 just to get myself refreshed on it, and holy shit, how did I forget that Arrested Development is like the best thing ever? It's fucking hilarious.
It is. Yeah.
It's just like that show's like perfect. Like from a comedy perspective, it just doesn't get better, I don't think. Season 4 starts out real slow, but then around halfway through, like it really hits its groove, and I actually really, really, really enjoyed like the last half of that season. They did a good job. You can tell they struggled with it with the reboot, but then they figured it out and they did a good job with it. And are they making another season? I think they are.
They're either making a new season or a movie.
Oh yeah, because they've always joked about the movie.
No, it wasn't a joke.
Well, in like season 2 and 3, I think they mentioned.
Oh yeah, in the show.
They have like some meta
I thought you meant the years
and
years afterwards when they were seriously talking about it. Okay, yeah. In the show, it is.
In the show, it is, but you can also tell that they were legitimately thinking about a movie, which is why it's a joke in the first place. But anyway, yeah, I'm looking forward to the follow-up to that. I was impressed because I was really down on it. Like, for the first 2 episodes, I was like, God, this is so thrown together and weird and not, like, it just doesn't feel right. You can just tell that things were recorded separately in a really jarring way, and it just rubbed me the wrong way. And then, like, it just gets better and better and better.
It picks up and they tie it up well.
Yeah. And the Ron Howard stuff. They go really far with the Ron Howard stuff, which is really funny. Yeah, good fucking show. Can't recommend that one enough. I'm going to go back and watch season 1 and 2 again, probably.
They're also fantastic.
Yes.
The first 3 seasons are... the 4th one definitely gets better, but I think the first 3 clearly
I think by the end of the 4th one, it's... by the end of the 4th one, it's just about on par, but only at the end. Everything before then just has like kind of a hit or miss to it. But
the roofie loop was a particular stand-up there.
They do some good shit in that.
Yeah.
So, also, on a less funny note, There Will Be Blood. I finally got around to seeing, which I've been meaning to see that since it came out.
This is your first time seeing it?
Ago, I think. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. No, I saw that like a year ago or more.
Good movie. I think I remember talking about it on the podcast.
Yeah. I saw that recently too. I don't think it was more than a year. I think it was like a year ago I saw that. And damn, very chilling. Chilling flick.
It is.
Yeah.
It's funny. I remember when it came out, everyone was getting it mixed up, for good reason, getting it mixed up with No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just on like an aesthetic level, where you can tell from the trailers, like, okay, they're kind of going for a very similar thing here.
They're both like these sinister...
It turns out, like, thematically, they are extremely similar movies, and they even have, like... Yeah, those are... Because I actually watched... The reason I watched There Will Be Blood is because I went back and watched No Country for Old Men again.
Yeah,
And I was like, God, I need to watch There Will Be Blood. I need to just go ahead and do it.
And that's a movie... There Will Be Blood is a movie where I think if it came out 1 year to the left or right, it would have won Best Picture.
Yeah. I think that it got overshadowed. And it doesn't deserve that because it's very good. And it was really cool. It's one of those movies you think about for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And
you think about the character too, also.
Yeah, and a hell of an ending. Hell of an ending scene.
I'm finished!
It's fucking good. I'm happy I finally went back and watched that.
The editing in the movie is very much something to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Things linger on, and they start to feel wrong, and then it just keeps growing until it all like deflates out into a shot of like some fields.
Yeah, it's like if Quentin Tarantino was actually like an artistic director instead of just a
silly man.
I don't know how to
very
describe him. It's not that I
silly
dislike Quentin Tarantino or his movies, but
He's
Yeah.
not silly, actually. He's not silly.
He's a
Especially
silly
not
man.
he is
His movies aren't
okay.
necessarily
That's
silly.
true. He is a silly man, but like the
watches
Hateful
interviews.
Eight's ending was pretty great. You eventually saw that, right? You did.
Yeah. No, we both saw that in theaters.
That's right. But you didn't
Yeah.
get to see the roadshow, did you?
I did. I saw the.
Oh.
I didn't see. You got a special treat in that like.
That's right. Mine had the intermission. I thought.
No, I still had an intermission. You had some sort of like a person came out and like presented it or something. Like, didn't you say something about that?
Yeah,
Or was I
they
talking to someone else
explained
about
like
that?
how it worked.
Yeah, mine was just like you sat down for a movie.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
mine was
but I
cooler.
still had the intermission and that like beginning part where it's
Okay,
like
yeah.
you're taking your seats and you've got your
Well,
booklet.
that's the
and-
overture. That's the overture.
Yeah, the overture. Yeah.
Then there's an intermission.
Yeah. So I still had both of those, but
Okay.
that
yeah, so
was a
you-
great
you
movie
did
and
see
it was
the
very
roadshow.
very well filmed. But it, none of Tarantino's movies have the right. I don't want to sit here and criticize Quentin Tarantino because I really do
It's
love a
not
lot of those
really
movies.
depth.
But yeah, there's just not that. God, I'm not a good enough English major to properly express my feelings on it. But he doesn't put everything into a package the same way that a Coen brothers or Anderson do. But anyway, yeah, let's get to news.
Okay. So let's start out loud this week. Blam! With Kojima firing shots at Konami. He did it. He actually addressed Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah,
I got some choice quotes.
I only heard one quote, which was
Trust
like
me, these are choice.
something about zombies.
Yeah. So, when asked whether the idea for Survive had come from Kojima himself, he replied, "That's nothing to do with me. The Metal Gear games are about political fiction and espionage. Where do zombies fit in with that?" It's like just some genuine confusion, and then they ask Yoji Shinkawa what he thinks about the zombies, and he says, "If I had worked on that game, it would have mechs in it." So
Those are perfect quotes.
there you go. You got the weigh-in from the duo there.
Yeah, they released some gameplay footage of it.
They did, yes.
Did you see any of that?
It looked exactly how I expected it to.
Same here.
Down to the pixel.
I'm
Exactly
actually,
what I
like,
thought.
I'll actually go as far as saying I'm actually kind of disappointed. Not that I had any kind of expectation more than like, okay, it's going to be 4-player co-op zombie survival, but you could do something really cool with a co-op Metal Gear Solid
could.
5 game.
I was expecting them
that
to
doesn't
at
have
least
zombies.
like take the assets and maybe make something new, but it's just literally a Phantom Pain map.
Yeah, and it's almost like they've but even that wouldn't bother me if it was just like same Metal Gear Solid 5 gameplay even, and just have AI controlled bases and stuff that you take over with your friends.
Right, that's
it would
the
require less work.
That's the
And
problem,
that would be
though.
a game that I'd be more willing to play.
I don't know if it would require less work. I mean, I think it's easier for them to
Wouldn't
make
have
the
to
whole
create
co-op
zombies.
angle work. Yeah, but that's minimal. Like, I think it's harder to let you have that expanded moveset and all
make
those
a
capabilities.
game
and-
out of it.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I still think they took the lowest possible effort route here, and the it just everything about it is just it's a product. They're gonna sell it, and some people are gonna buy it, and that's my review.
It's the lowest hanging fruit for sure.
I
And there's a lot of people
just don't
online
get it.
defending it. A lot of people defending it, which I don't really understand. I can understand defending it against some criticism. Like I was defending it against some criticism, where it's like who gives a shit that they're making it in
Right,
the first place?
yeah.
Like it's not ruining
That doesn't
Metal Gear
bother
for
me.
anyone. Like who gives a shit? But trying to act like it's not going to be a really really lame, uninspired piece of trash that's a stretch because
Like-
that game. There's no way that game's good.
Looking for value there just because you want to be that guy who says, actually, then
Yeah.
Okay. Metal Gear 5. Last Guardian. Some new exciting gameplay footage for that game came down the pipe. Tokyo Game Show this year. I think it's going on right now, correct? Is it? Or did
I think it's finished.
It's finished? Okay. Well, the Tokyo Game Show happened. I don't know. I couldn't find much on it, so I don't think it's... let's settle this matter.
It would make sense that it would finish when the weekend's over, right?
Game Show.
But E3 takes place during the week, so...
Yeah, it looks like it ended. Okay. Well, Last Guardian footage came out, and I'm not going to watch it, because it's time to not watch it now. That it's less than a year away. I don't need to see anything more. I'm going to play it. I'm going to buy it. So I don't need to see what's up.
I skipped through it to see what the buzz was all about.
I saw a Polygon clickbait article that was, The Last Guardian has got me uncomfortable. Or something.
Did they use that word?
It was either uncomfortable or nervous or something like... I don't think it was...
Uncomfortable would be a Polygon thing to say. I won't spoil anything for you here. Polygon played that game at TGS, and that's the footage that got out. Got out. It's not like it was leaked. I think they got permission and everything, but that's the footage that everyone's watching. People are saying that they're worried about the controls. That it looks like the person playing is struggling with the camera and the movement because they're just struggling. And I will say this, not that it's impossible for that kind of game to have bad controls, which, Shadow of the Colossus wasn't exactly known for its wonderful responsive controls, and they even made the horse purposefully non-responsive. But Polygon has a track record.
Doom.
Specifically with one particular game of not being very good at playing games that they review or preview, which makes the games look... If you watch Doom gameplay played by Polygon, that game looks like garbage. It looks like a really bad game.
I wouldn't have paid for it if that was the only gameplay I saw.
So I'm just going to say, until you see someone competent play that game and struggle with it, there is absolutely no reason to think that the controls have any problem whatsoever. It just doesn't. And I was watching it, and it didn't really seem... There was a kind of a big commotion about it. I saw big forum threads and stuff about the movement being a problem in The Last Guardian, and I just... Even watching that gameplay footage where, they were struggling a little bit, didn't seem like a problem. It just kind of seemed like, okay, whatever.
And at this point, we got to remember who we're dealing with. They could just be... They could be playing it bad on purpose. I would not doubt that. I'm
not going to go that far, but...
Nothing would surprise me. I think they realized... Maybe they didn't do that, but I think they might see... Oh, our Doom video got a kajillion views. Everyone was making fun of it, but who cares? It got us a kajillion page hits. So, you know what? You can play this next game too, guy. Don't worry about it. You keep the job that we gave you.
I'm not going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I doubt that they're very aware of how... Or maybe they are aware and they just don't give a shit about how bad they are at video games. Video game journalists are some of the worst... Video game journalists are some of the worst video game players.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. I know where some of it comes from. When they're talking over footage, it's hard to play a video game and talk.
They usually don't do it live though. So
usually, there are some
almost never.
Okay, I can understand how people will get frustrated when they miss something, and it's listen, if they're talking while playing, that's not. You can't blame them too much. Even just streaming, that can be a problem for me sometimes. But yeah, they're bad. They're bad at games. They try to play even very easy games like Call of Duty on the console, where you should be... If you're not getting in the top 3 in a large server in Call of Duty on a console, you are terrible. You're playing against a bunch of 12-year-olds who have no idea how to play games. You need to be competent at Call of fucking Duty.
But what if these 12-year-olds...
and it locks onto your enemy.
But what if these 12-year-olds are quick-scoping noob tubers?
It's true.
What then? Quick scoping noob.
Well, they don't play Call of Duty anymore anyway. If you're a video game journalist, that's far too much.
Those kids are all
toxicity
into
to deal
Battlefield
with.
1 now.
And it's a toxicity that you just can't. It's gross.
You just can't. You literally can't.
It's gross. You literally can't, and you start shaking, and it's gross.
Okay, so Super Mario showed up at Apple.
We already talked about that, didn't we?
Did we?
Yeah, when Miyamoto showed up and he showed a Super Mario runner. It's an endless runner.
Your scraps, your disgusting scraps at the bottom of this Google Doc, leftovers from last week.
We talked about that stuff. You should just remember.
Mess up. You clean your mess up. Anything from this week though? Like what serious shit went down at TGS? There's got to be something. They already blew their load on the PlayStation Pro, which was kind of a non-event.
Oh, definitely a non-event. Except for especially I would say actually because they teased it, the Mass Effect footage that they showed, which people were kind of excited for, and then they showed just really
all in 4K.
Uneventful Mass Effect footage that could be from any game ever. It just looks completely it might as well be pre-rendered. Let me scroll down the quick thing here to see if there's anything that I forgot to mention that maybe...
Any breaking news on your blotter?
Infinite Warfare got a trailer.
At this point, people will just... God, you know what? That's going to be one of the few, underrated Call of Duty games of our generation.
I might get Infinite Warfare. I might get
the campaign bit looked cool.
It did.
Doing that,
and the trailer
the space
looks
station in space.
Good. The trailer, it looks like they've tried on a single-player experience for the first time since Modern Warfare 2. Actually, I'll give them benefit of the doubt on Black Ops, even though I didn't like it. A lot of people loved that. But this looks like, it's still a generic fucking Call of Duty story, whatever. But that's what you need to do. But the graphics are really, really good, and the voice acting looks fantastic, and the set pieces look impressive. It looks cool. I wouldn't even probably consider it if it weren't for the Call of Duty 4 remaster coming with it. But hey, there you go.
Gears of War 4. Who cares? 1, but 2. When you were talking just then, I looked at a couple seconds of this on mute. It's called Gears of War 4 gameplay trailer. They showed gameplay for this. I skipped around. It's all cutscenes.
Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't actually see it, but I heard it.
It doesn't matter to me, but it's not gameplay.
I don't know why they would call it that.
Yeah, it's set pieces. It's them all looking up at a big alien, and the camera's pshoo, and then it goes Marcus Phoenix's beard, and it's psha, but not gameplay.
What do you mean it goes shoo?
When it, twists. That classic Alfred Hitchcock technique, where the camera goes.
Is it
shwoom, like that?
Oh, is it the Michael Bay technique where it's zoomed in a ton and the camera moves?
You know exactly what I'm talking about. The camera will move and swoosh by characters' faces, and it'll slow down right as they come in frame, and then they'll look up at something, and or it'll
that's a Michael Bay thing.
Whip pan behind them as they reveal the massive thing. It's we'd better get out of here. That kind of garbage.
People are excited
disgusting
about that.
Schlock that direct.
People are legitimately excited about that, and I don't really get it. I loved Gears of War. The first Gears of
General
War.
Ram. What a cool boss.
What an awesome game that was. The multiplayer was totally fresh. Nobody had ever done anything like that.
Even though it essentially was just charge into each other and somebody kills the other one with a chainsaw.
It was... If you played a lot of it, there's a strategic element to it. It was a lot slower than... this was it was competing against Call of Duty and Halo as multiplayer shooters go. And it's so much slower than both of those games. And it was survival-based, too, where one death that's it for the round, and so a round-based, no respawn multiplayer was totally different. It was a big deal, and the cover mechanics were totally different too from anything we'd ever seen before. But yeah, I don't want to play a Gears of War game at all. I remember watching that thing at E3. It was
now.
This is not something that I care about at all. I don't care about the world, even though I think that they probably did an okay job. But that I remember Gears of One actually having a fairly interesting little story, kind of a cool setting that they set up, but I just don't care. And I feel like I'd be left behind too because they released so many bad games or games that I had no interest in playing, like Gears of War 3 and Gears of War Andromeda or whatever. And then there was the one starring the fucking sniper that everyone hates. And I feel like I'd be behind trying to jump back in. I don't know.
I would not.
It's coming out on PC though, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, and they got split screen co-op on PC, which is
that's crazy.
It's cool that they're doing that.
It's
not
it's
gonna
awesome.
Play it probably, but
it's fucking crazy. I don't know. Like, I wonder what the last game, except for like an indie game, was that came out on split. I don't know if I've ever seen a game come out with split screen on the PC.
Yeah, nothing that's not like emulated or a port, really.
But I think it's a result of Microsoft's, making
I'm glad
PC
they're going that way because I
Xbox.
want to buy an Xbox One.
No. And I am interested in the new Forza Horizon. I'm going to wait until it comes out and see what people say about it. But that sounds like it might do what the Crew should do, where it's like a big open world racing thing. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything.
Yeah.
I don't have any other news.
I'm bone dry. Guys, we're the Bone Dry Guys, and thanks for listening to our podcast, which was called Push to Shout and was about video games. Next week, we'll have another podcast like this one, but the number will be 88 instead of 87. So we hope to see you then. Good night. Oh yeah, we gotta do it.